Hello again, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of Yankees Baseball Daily. We're coming to you from Steinbrenner Field in Tampa, Florida. I'm Jack Curry. To my immediate right is Joel Sherman of the New York Post, and to the far right is John Heyman of CBSSports.com. We're going to talk a lot of Yankees over the next half hour. We have interviews coming up with Mariano Rivera and Ivan Nova. But, guys, we have to start with the biggest news in baseball, and that's a national story. It's Ryan Braun, the National League MVP. He had failed a drug test in October. Word of that was reported in December. He appealed the drug test, guys, and he won the appeal. He's the first Major League player to ever do that. John, your thoughts when this news broke today?
Well, it was certainly a big surprise because Major League Baseball had been 12-0 in these appeals cases. But I do think it's good that Major League Baseball allows an appeal process, gives a guy a chance to be heard. And in this case, he argued there was something wrong with the test, the process itself, and was able to be successful. It was a big surprise to everybody in baseball, but he should be thought of as innocent now to everybody. And hopefully he's not tainted by this, but you never know. There will be people who will think that he was guilty, even though he is innocent.
Joel, John talked about the process, and I think that's where some people are going to have an issue. They're going to say he's not saying he was innocent. He's talking about the technicality and the process of how the sample was handled. Where do you come down on that?
Yeah, well, 12-1. The other 12 victories don't feel very big right now because this one is going to stain Major League Baseball at a moment where they felt like they were moving away from the steroid era. Right now, this makes it feel like, oh, there's a technicality, there's a loophole, other players will do this. And I've got to disagree a little with John. This is not an exoneration for Ryan Braun. The claim here is that the test was kept in a refrigerator in someone's house instead of brought into FedEx for 48 hours. I don't know a lot about science, but I mean, there's rules of how to handle this for a reason. And Major League Baseball botched it. The handler botched it. But no one ever said that this test didn't come up positive. And I do think Ryan Braun carries this scarlet letter with him now for the rest of his career. I'm sure he's very happy not to serve the 50-game suspension. That would have been worse. But he carries this with him throughout his career.
You know, I don't look at this as a technicality. He argued about the process, and the process was found to be flawed. If you have a flawed process, he should not be found guilty based on something that is clearly flawed. They had an independent arbitrator. He ruled in Ryan Braun's case. It was 2 days that the sample was left unprotected. That's an awfully long time. A lot can happen in 2 days. I don't think we should look at him as guilty and that this is a technicality. He has won this case, and we really need to get past this.
I think this is a situation, I think this is a situation where someone was found not guilty as opposed to innocent. I think this is Major League Baseball botching this. We see incompetence in everything from how we get our coffee in the morning to apparently how someone handles urine, right? And so somebody botched how they handled Ryan Braun's urine, and because of that, he was found not guilty. But I don't think his reputation at least walks out of this as innocent.
Well, yeah, there'll be people who think that he's guilty, but I don't think that they should. This, first of all, should never have gotten out. It should never have leaked that there was a failed test in the first place because it's supposed to be confidential. And it came out, and now he has won the case. And I really don't think that it's a technicality.
I know, John, you talked about him winning the case, but I think I'm going to side with Joel on that. Yes, he won the case, but I still think that this has now created more questions. And as you go forward, do you really think people are going to see it as clear-cut as you? And when Ryan Braun comes to the plate, he's not going to hear those boos and those chants from people who think that he did cheat?
He may hear that from some people, but to me this is not a technicality. To have 2 days, a lot can happen in 2 days, as I said. So there's no proof of his guilt. So in the court of law, he's innocent here, and I think that we should look at him as an innocent man. If you win the case, I mean, he's innocent, and that's it. And
I mean, O.J. was found not guilty, but people walked away from that case feeling that O.J. was not innocent.
Right. Well, we all watched that case on TV. Right. That was all a public case. We all saw that case on TV. So we knew that he was guilty.
We're talking about the public perception now of Ryan Braun, and I always think about these things is how will this person's obituary read eventually when that happens? And someplace in the first, second, third grade, very high up, no matter what Ryan Braun does the rest of his career, this incident's going to be there. So this travels with him, right or wrong, John, right or wrong that it came out. It's not fair. There was a lot of things that went wrong in this process. Major League Baseball messed up here. I'm not siding with Major League Baseball as much as I'm saying there's going to be a perception now that Ryan Braun is not innocent and a perception that Major League Baseball's process stinks. And so everyone loses to some degree here.
Well, there will be a perception on the part of some people that he's not innocent, but I don't think that's a fair perception. We didn't watch this case unfold as we did with O.J. Simpson. We all watched that and understood that he was guilty. That was very clear. This is now we're talking about something we didn't see happen, and all we know here is that they botched the case. that it was the sample was out for 2 days, and who knows what could have happened in those 2 days. So I don't think it's fair.
Don't you think even if we agree that they botched it and that he should have been found not guilty, that he'll travel through his career with this stain regardless, and I think that's problematic for him. And then more worrisome, if you love the game, is there's this problematic thing for baseball now where the fans again are going to say, well, see, aren't they all still doing this? They have technicalities, etc.
No, this is the first case that was won on appeal, so I don't think that's the case. Now, of course, it could come up as a precedent in a future case. It may complicate some matters, but this is the first time we've heard of any botching out of the thousands and thousands of tests that were done by Major League Baseball.